G'day Internet, Max right here, and we're here with our wonderful guest that this channel is very familiar with, Juan Villaverde. Juan, thanks so much for being here.
Hey Max, good to see you, my friend. Long time no see.
A long time, no see. There's a very good reason for that. You just got married recently, so congratulations on that. We were just talking about off camera. I know it was an awesome party. Well played.
Thank you, sir. Look, ring fits too.
Awesome. Love it. All right, then, let's get into it. It's been a little while.
Yeah,
Why don't you catch us up on what's been happening? I mean, it's probably been 3 or 4 months, right? Probably,
yeah,
I'm guessing the price of Bitcoin was below like 50,000, maybe even less than 40,000 last time we chatted.
I think
Catch us
so.
up with what's been going. And for those of you who I'm introducing to Juan here, Juan is an expert at cycles and that's the cycles within crypto especially. So talk to us about the crypto cycles. And there's cycles within cycles within cycles. So catch us up on where we are on all of these cycles. See if we have any confluence. See if we can read the tea leaves to see where things are going.
All right, so I'm assuming last time we spoke, Bitcoin was around 45K because it must have been late December, around January that we spoke. And there was there's an 80-day cycle in crypto. That's the last time we had an 80-day cycle correction. Well, I remember being bullish and telling you, hey, it's going to all-time highs. So it did, right? I got that right. So it was all about ETF hype, whatever, the inflows. But to me, the model turned bullish on November 22. And then you have this long period of kind of consolidation, which was 2023, but it was particularly bullish. And I think I must have mentioned in this channel that the fact that the consolidation phase is bullish means that the rally phase or the bullish phase will be more bullish too. It doesn't mean like unlike a lot of people were saying, it doesn't mean that maybe the bull market arrives earlier or it's a stunted cycle or whatever. No, it's if the neutral phase is bullish, the bullish phase is more bullish. So that's where we're at now. Around late Q1, so around March, I started noticing that it was people were getting too excited on social media, which is a great indicator. If you don't know anything about cycles, when people get too excited and they start counting their money before it even materializes and they start talking about $1 million Bitcoin when it just hit 60K, for example, I begin to worry. So around that time, I said, okay, bigger cycle correction is due. That's a 240-day cycle. So it's like you add up three of these 80-day cycles, you have a 240-day cycle. Those corrections are longer. They're not necessarily more pronounced, deeper in terms of price, in terms of the decline, but they're longer. They take longer to play out. Last time we had that was July through September 23. That's a couple months. It fell by 20%. So my prediction for the period between March and mid-May was a 20% correction that would take a couple of months. That's exactly what happened. 20% correction. It took a couple of months. Classic textbook 240 cycle. That ended. The model confirmed the end of that on May 13th. I had a forecast for that to be between 30th of April and the 4th of May. It came in on May 1st, so right on target. That's it. We're bullish. It should break out within the next couple of weeks. Very short term, if you really want to get into the weeds, I had a there was a there's a 20 days. So you break down this 80-day cycle into four smaller components of 20 days each. And the 20-day cycle low and therefore rally was due today as we're recording this. So it's June 3rd, according to my calendar. So that was the date of the low when the Bitcoin should begin to rally. So if everything plays out exactly as you would expect, Bitcoin has made a longer term bottom on May 1st, and it made a short term low on June 3rd, and now it's on the way to a new all-time high. That's textbook bullish price action. There's a couple of things that could derail that. If it doesn't break out, usually Bitcoin is slower on the date of the halving. So there's only been three in the past. In all three instances, Bitcoin was pretty slow. And the only homework I did prior to this meeting, Max, was looking at how long it took Bitcoin to break out after it went into what I call the pre-halving consolidation, which is a bad name because sometimes it's after the halving. But around the halving, we always see a correction. We saw a 240-day cycle correction in three instances out of four. The only exception was 2020. 2020, due to COVID, everything was distorted. We only saw an 80-day cycle correction. during that halving. Now, back then in 2020, it took about 60 days from the high of the pre-halving high to the breakout, 60 days. In every other instance, it took over 100 days. So over 3 months consolidating before you see the breakout. So just to bring it home, just to bring it to what it would, where the breakout, when the breakout would be. In this case, it would be around late June to call it late July. So it's a little early to be expecting that breakout according to that. So that's not even part of the cycle studies that I do. It's not part of any model that I have. It's just I just noticed that typically Bitcoin around the halving it's very slow. And my model is not actually great at doing it. It's good at timing. So I can pinpoint the highs and lows, so dates for the highs and lows. But the price movement in between, harder to do. Still working on that. So Bitcoin should remain above that May 1st low you see there, which is the end of that bull flag. It should remain above that. But when is it going to break out into new all-time highs? Well, that could take a while, actually. It could take a few more weeks still. If it doesn't, for everybody listening, that means we're in an extremely bullish cycle. Like it's already been extremely bullish. I mentioned this again and again during our talks, Max, that this market was extremely bullish. I was surprised at how bullish it was. If it breaks out, let's say by mid-June, that would be extremely bullish.
This ties into a bunch of things here. Yeah, I agree that throughout this cycle, it's been a little more aggressive than it has in previous cycles.
Yes.
And so that you can take that one of two ways. It's getting a little bit premature in its ways and it needs to consolidate for a longer period. Or the other way to take it is that, you know what, this cycle is special for one reason or another. And it's the reason all of these indicators are ahead of schedule is for a reason. It's because it's going to see some pretty big appreciation during what I guess Raoul Paul nicknamed the banana zone. So
yes.
I'm just going to throw in my 3 cents now. For everyone listening, you should listen to Juan and not me, because Juan's way better at this. I'm an investor, not a trader. Juan is a trader. Okay, very big difference, very different skill sets. You should listen to Juan, not me. Let me repeat that again. But back here, I think on this day right here, I said, guys, it looks like we're going to break out of this bull flag, and I'm pretty sure I said it in the video. I said, when we break out of this bull flag, and here is your bull flag, here's your flagpole, then here's your flag. When you break out of this bull flag, the targets become the length of this pole up. It gets repeated up on the other side. Now, it could break through and go straight, or it can break through, come down and consolidate on this line, confirm support, and then take off again. And as I look at this, that to me just looks like an absolute picture. It broke through convincingly, came back down and confirmed support. And just now today, we are starting to show that it's thinking about heading up again. Juan's saying it could take any time, it's like for a month to two, before it really breaks past this point here, this high, which is that kind of it's the all-time high, isn't it, at 74. And yeah, timing wise, we'll defer to Juan for that. But everything about this says the next 3, 6, 9 months is going to be stupid good for Bitcoin. Is that high level that you're in alignment with that, Juan?
Yeah, it's the banana zone, like Raoul Pal calls it. I love that term, by the way. Shout out to
It is a
Raoul
good one, isn't
Pal.
it?
Let me break it down this way. If I look at the chart and I ignore all the cycles, all the past and everything, I just look at the traditional technical analysis, it looks like a breakout is imminent. Like it's going to break out like maybe this week or maybe next week. That's what it looks like to me. If I remember that Bitcoin is usually slow after it's halving, that's when I say, hey, hold on, maybe it takes another 3-4 weeks before we see that breakout, because the market would remain bullish still, even if it continues to consolidate sideways around the $69,000, $70,000 area for a couple more weeks. Nobody would look at that chart, 6 months from now and say, oh, Bitcoin didn't look good then. No, it did. It just took a while to break out. That's all I'm cautioning here. Usually it takes a while to break out. That's all I'm saying. Things could change that. I mean, that price action on Monday you highlighted, it was the ETH ETF. Well, the ETH ETF should begin trading. Well, I've heard a lot of conflicting information, but the one I took home was mid-June, mid to late June, we would see the ETFs listed. Maybe that brings in the next catalyst. I don't know. If you are familiar with Raoul Pal's work, which I follow religiously, I think she's on the money there. It's all about liquidity. Liquidity is on the rising end. So there was a liquidity air pocket that was being called an air pocket by some liquidity analysts, myself included. It had to do with tax season mostly, and the fact that the reverse repo facility was drained or was draining at the Fed. But that's all changing now. So liquidity is coming back slowly. I hear it's being driven mostly by the private sector, but then the central banks are going to jump in here at some point. So listen, whether it breaks out, within the next 10 days or 30, I don't think it makes any difference. The charts look good. And a number of altcoins have been looking really good too. And Max, my model actually turned bullish on this. Like it confirmed the low on Bitcoin on May 13th. That's the last time I bought. As a trade, I have to trade this thing, even though I have a large like position that I don't touch on Bitcoin. I still trade it. Yeah, I have a hodl position, which is my largest. I still got to trade it. Like if my model is all these things are lining up, like, oh, I have this forecast for like an very early May low, and now it's confirming a low on this other model. I use a couple of models in combination. So I had to buy it. So I bought it basically before the rally. I wasn't surprised at all that it was rallying. And now if I look at the price action, like just this morning, I was going over my charts. I was looking at Ether on Bybit, my favorite crypto exchange. Shout out to Bybit. And I was like, is that the chart of Ether? That looks extremely bullish. Like it looks like it's about to break out.
This
like
is Ether,
without any buy. Ether, yeah, Ethereum. So just look at the chart of Ether. It looks extremely bullish. So yeah, it looks like it's gonna break out anytime soon. So yeah, we'll see. Like I said, only reason I don't like to get overly excited. It's the enemy when you're trading. So I keep telling myself, hold on, maybe it takes a while longer. Maybe it consolidates a little further. At the same time, yeah, it's bullish. This thing is bullish. It's gonna break out.
Yeah. Okay.
90% chance.
Good times. I will just go back. It's something else that I kind of like. This little bit of confluence on the stochastic. Let me maximize the stochastic here. This is on the daily. It's not particularly important on the stochastic, but the way stochastics work for everyone at home, I want to know you know this, but when this breaks above this 20 line, these two blue lines break above that, that is usually a real shift in momentum. But you'll notice this thing oscillates wildly, high and low. And the reason it does that is because it over-reports. So it's more likely to have false positives. But when you come over here to the weekly, and you get that they've already crossed here on the weekly, you start to get a little bit of confluence, and the higher time frames are obviously more important. And so as those things start to happen, all of those things to me just point to, yeah, we're pretty close to a breakout. But to me, it doesn't matter because the long-term picture. Let's talk about the long-term picture, Juan, because the long-term picture to me is so within the crypto world. Let's be specific. Within the crypto world, it's so rosy. You mentioned the liquidity cycle, so you got the macro world. Why don't we go through a few other things to talk about the big picture? We'll talk about the next 12, 18 months, and just what's most top of mind for you for the next 12 to 18 months. What are you looking at as being the potential boogeyman? Or the evidence you find to say, no, the next 12, 18 months should be pretty rosy, and we should have a typical 4-year cycle where 2024 was great and 2025's retarded good.
Honestly, that's where I'm at. I think 2024 is going to be good. I don't know if 25 is going to be retarded good, because remember last time it wasn't. That is what's known as crypto fall. So if you break down the cycle into 4 years, you had the first year. I mean, it depends on where you start. Sometimes I start with the bear market. Sometimes I start with the consolidation phase. But so far, it's been a typical 4-year cycle. So we had the bear market, 22, 80% correction on Bitcoin. I have a video somewhere where I'm talking to a buddy of mine, and we're calling the low down to the day, because we're just doing a year since the high in November of 22. So what I'm trying to say is typical cycle. Like it literally bottomed where we thought it would, when we thought it would, at around the price we thought it would. Typical cycle. Then the next cycle, the next year, 2023, typical cycle as well. Consolidation, a little more bullish than usual, which is a good thing. And then 24 begins, and it's super bullish. I think that was the ETF acting as a catalyst. I really do. I'm wondering whether that will continue to be a catalyst. This talk of more ETFs. And remember how in 2018 everybody was saying the institutions are coming? Well, it took another 5 years, right? But they did come eventually. So they're here now. I'm quite bullish, like beyond just the obvious, the fact that this 4 year cycle, if you break it down, 24 is bullish and 25 should be even more bullish. Um, I have my doubts because we already have one case, which is the last cycle, so 2021, the equivalent now is 2025, wasn't that bullish, not for Bitcoin. So maybe it looks the same. Maybe we have a great 24 and an okay 25, maybe, or maybe we have a great 24 and a fantastic 25. Catalysts beyond liquidity. I'm thinking, yeah, if the SEC shifts its tune with regards to what's a security, what's not, it seems to be coming. It seems to be all about Trump embracing crypto. I'm just going to say it. So Trump embraces crypto, competition being Biden. They embrace crypto as well. They're more shy about it, obviously, because they have a history. They don't really like crypto, but they did greenlight the ETF. I'm not alone in saying that. I think even Kathy Wood was saying this obviously came from the top. So what if the SEC greenlights the ETH ETF? I mean, is Solana coming next? Is Chainlink coming next? I mean, Grayscale already has a Chainlink fund. I think rumors or speculation alone that the next altcoin, this altcoin or that altcoin is gonna get an ETF, that may actually pump this market. That may actually be a secondary catalyst, if you will, um, for this bull market. I think the primary thing is going to be, the same old, same old. It's the Fed cuts rates, they inject liquidity. There's some issues somewhere. There's a dollar shortage already. So I'm surprised they've been able to hold off this long, the Fed that is, in not cutting rates. But Japan and China need dollars. I mean, they're scrambling for dollars. So that tells you that liquidity is too tight. The fact that the dollar is this strong. So we have a strong crypto market. Liquidity has been on the rise. And yet, it's just commercial real estate. We know it's not enough. So they need to inject more. They need to do more. We already know they need to do more. And we're already at all-time highs, basically, for Bitcoin. So how bullish am I? I'm super bullish because I'm still waiting for that pivot, which didn't really, it kind of did happen, but not really. I'm waiting for them to pull out the bazooka, which is it's gonna happen. I think not an expert on this, but they use already like playing around the rules. They want to do like some type of green bond issuance or whatever. That's just money printing by another name. They
That's
just
it.
call these things
They
things.
rebranded it to quantitative easing, and then they rebranded it to something else, and it's all the same shit.
It's all the same shit.
It's
So
money printing. Yeah. So
yes, and more of
another
that is
thing,
coming. So
see, another big catalyst that I see. I got a bunch of friends who in America here, it's what they call RIAs, and these are the people who are licensed and they basically manage retirement funds for people. They manage people's portfolios. That's what they do. And it's a very regulated industry, and they all go through 2 or 3 different big umbrella organizations because of all the legalities. Companies like Ameriprise and things like that. So these are good friends of mine. I mean, I talk money all the time to my friends. A whole bunch of them some of my best friends are these guys, and they have just been completely shut off to crypto for years. And the reason is because let's say a client comes to them and says, "Hey, I really want to invest in Bitcoin. I really want to allocate a portion." They have to say that the reality is, well, if you want to do that, my umbrella organization gives me no ability to do that. So you have to take money away from me over there, go and sign up for Coinbase, go and sign up for Kraken, stick your money in there, buy your Bitcoin, buy your ETH, whatever you want to buy, and I no longer earn commissions on that portion that you took out. So over the years, they became absolutely experts, and their umbrella organization, their seniors, spent enormous amounts of money creating marketing and bullet points and talking points to explain to customers why not to do that, because their fees go down. And so now, okay, they're allowed to do it, but they can't just turn on a dime. All of that programming, all of that propaganda, all of that education they received about why Bitcoin's so terrible, they can't, oh, now there's an ETF. It cannot just turn on a dime. A, they look silly. But B, it's also they smoked their own shit. They believed what they were saying. It's a funny thing where the incentive is there financially for them to believe this, and then they convince themselves of the thing with facts they went and found to support the argument. So for all of that to unwind, that's going to take several years. And so I just think the big inflows into crypto, into the Bitcoin ETFs, I think generally came from people who probably already had Bitcoin over here, but couldn't get their retirement fund or couldn't get their 401k account. They couldn't do it any other way. And so I was already a crypto guy. Now I get to put more funds into crypto, but I still think it wasn't the shifting of the tide where the masses are like, oh, okay, like Bitcoin's the thing now. It's going to take several years for that to happen. And I just think that the next few years, combined with the cycle timing, combined with all of the macro things you said, I think that is one of the biggest catalysts for me that I just think, my God, my goodness, the amount of money that's going to flow in is just obscene.
Yeah, it's a mindset shift if you think about it. I mean, they're just changing their perspective. It's interesting. I never thought of that. Probably because I'm outside the States and I'm like base. I've been a crypto bro for years already, so I cannot believe somebody would consider not investing in this shit. I mean, even if you like trading like I do, the opportunities in crypto are just unparalleled. There, you can do things here that you cannot do anywhere else. And even experts like Raul Pal, I saw him on a podcast the other day. He was talking about the unsustainability of high yields you can get in crypto because you can forget about just buying Bitcoin. You can get extremely high yields in crypto. And he was saying, oh, it's unsustainable. There must be a reason why. It's a red flag. I'm like, no, it's not. Just think about it. You buy Solana, it goes up 100x. Um, if you lend money to the person who's buying Solana, you may do a 10x over that same period of time. So you get 10% of the return of that guy. That's extremely high yield. So the high yields in crypto are actually sustainable. Um, like I said, they have been coming down over time. Arthur Hayes said that in 2013, Bitcoin was approaching $1,000. You could sell a swap for 2,000 back then. So literally for 100% appreciation and make 100% guaranteed return, unless the exchange blew up, obviously. So they had those premiums have been coming down. You can still make 100% APR. Just doing interest rate arbitrage. I'm just talking as a trader. That's super interesting to me. Also because you can borrow against your Bitcoin. It actually makes a lot of sense once you learn it. So that somebody would stay away from this market is insane to me. Just investing in it rewards you like nothing else. Although I did see that Nvidia has outperformed Bitcoin over the past, I think, 5 years. It's only because Bitcoin had this brutal bear market. Actually, if you just take the rallies, you do so much better in Bitcoin. So just avoid the bear market. It's not that difficult. It's actually pretty regular. So, so yeah, it's an interesting point. It may be. I think I mentioned to you that I have this theory that there's an 8-year cycle in cryptos. Well, the way it works is you have alternating 4-year cycles where one is great, the one that comes after is not that good, and then the one that comes after is really good. Because you and I remember, I know this for a fact. You and I have spoken about how the 2016, 2017 bull market was so far crypto's best ever, right? You look at Bitcoin's chart, just pull it up, no corrections, no pullbacks, almost. I mean, there's your 20%
You
pullback
say
that
that, but there
gets,
was like 30% corrections in there, but it
that's
goes up
not
so much
50%.
so fast it becomes invisible.
Right, right. It becomes invisible, but there's a good reason why. In 2021, we had a 50+% pullback that took over 4 months almost to work out. There's nothing like that in the 2016-17 cycle. There's a few
Exactly.
30% pullbacks that last like, a month, 2 months at most, and then it's over and done with, and boom, it shoots up again. So it was more bullish than
Yeah.
the 2021 cycle. This 8-year cycle theory says, well, maybe this bull market is more like the 2016, 2017 bull market. And so far, it has been.
Yeah.
So far, it has been. Again,
Well,
just take that with a grain of salt because there's not enough iterations. But hey, it's a theory.
so another really important thing about the last cycle is there was this massive thing going on that we didn't find out about until after the cycle, which was FTX.
Yeah.
FTX was one of the biggest exchanges in the world. People are sending in, stupid amounts of money, millions of dollars. They're saying, hey, click buy Bitcoin. All that money is supposed to go into the market and bid up the price of Bitcoin. Then it was never going out into the market. He was just putting it in his pocket.
Yeah.
And so we didn't find out about that until like a year after the bear market. And I think, in the bear market, when the price of Bitcoin is down around like $20,000, when FTX goes down, they owe customers about $8 billion. It's just completely reasonable to think that in the bull market, when Bitcoin was $60,000, $70,000 per coin, they would have owed customers $20 billion worth of crypto assets that people think they have bought, and this guy's just put it in his pocket. It's nuts.
Speaking of which, what happened 8 years before FTX went down? Mt. Gox went down. It was
Well,
8 years
cycles.
prior. So cycle. So that's why I kept thinking, man, maybe there's something to this 8 year
Hmm.
cycle theory. And so far, like I said, this rhymes more with the 16, 17 cycle. And and then I try to keep myself honest and say to myself, yeah, well, you wish it was just like that. Because I have a lot more money to invest now. I wish I could relive 16, 17.
If it was a
Because
three
it was
cycle.
just crazy good. So, but hey, so far it's everything is lining up to be a phenomenal bull market. On the macro front, which is I'm kind of a macro analyst turned crypto analyst. On the macro front, I do worry a little bit. It does seem a little different. Central banks don't have the cover they used to print money hand over fist.
Oh,
I will admit that there's that thing that worries me, but I just look at the chart and I go, well, I don't think it matters. They'll figure out a way.
but I disagree with you. I think
Well, please,
they've
please
got more
do.
they've got more cover now than ever before. Now you got the inflation thing, but I still don't think most people understand that money printing equals inflation. I don't think the majority of people get that. But if you go back to 2008, and they're sitting around, well, what should we do? We don't know what they want to do. What do we do? What do we do? We got to discuss it. And it was like something like 9 months after the fall of Bear Stearns that they actually came up with this package and printed all this money. COVID comes along, and it's like, oh, everyone's saying, hey, we're just going to print money. Don't worry, everything will be fine. Like, it wasn't even a discussion. It's just like money printing is what we do. It's how we help you. It's how we rescue you. Stop complaining. I think the amount of cover they've got to print is obscene. Although, maybe you could argue that inflation's pushed back on that a little bit. But I think it's just like, well, this is just one of the tools in our pocket that everyone knows we use now. It doesn't need to be debated anymore. So I think they've got a lot of cover to print.
No, I agree. I agree, and also I've changed my perception on that a little bit. I think the record high fiscal deficits that the U.S. government is running that contributes to inflation. That's money printing too. They're basically injecting that into the economy. I think last year ended at 8% GDP fiscal deficit, which is absurd. And at some point, you have to print money to finance that because there's just not enough GDP growth. I mean, again, going back to Raul Pal, he talks about that. There's just not enough GDP to pay for all this debt. There's just not. So eventually you have to print. And this is why, again, the Fed, the ECB have already signaled that they want to move in this direction. But I have noticed that they're not doing it yet. It's almost as if they need some cover. Maybe they need something to blow up. Maybe they need something to happen. Again, and I have these discussions with other people a lot. For crypto specifically, it doesn't matter. Like even if you think the economy is not going to be doing so well. Listen, crypto reacts to liquidity and liquidity only. So the world is coming to an end. The world economy is crashing, and that gets central banks into the game, printing again. Crypto is going to go up. It's going to do well, even if the economy is done. Just like 2020, the economy was trash for most people in 2020 and in 2021. Crypto was doing great. Like you have to realize how the asset reacts to what's happening in the world. And I was listening to that. Actually, was going over that research this morning. Crypto reacts to liquidity mostly. It doesn't react to the economy. That doesn't care. Altcoins do, but not Bitcoin and part Ether. So Bitcoin and Ether mostly react to just how much money they're printing. And the world, if
So
the world's on fire, but they're printing money, they're feeding it with freshly printed dollars, crypto's gonna do well.
I do agree with you that they do need an excuse. So I guess you called it cover, and they do need an excuse. They can't just go on TV tomorrow and say, hey, we decided to print $10 trillion. So they need an
Exactly.
excuse. There needs to be some kind of crisis. But I think what makes it easy to invest in this environment, well, is that the speed with which there's not going to be a 9 month debate. There's
Oh
going to be a
no.
3 minute debate. It's like, oh, something shit the bed. Boom, print 5 trillion. Let's see if we can solve it that way. Like they will just do it so fast, and crypto will react so quickly you might miss out on your position, for days, weeks, maybe a month or two, or maybe a little bit more, but it's not going to be 5 years. That's not going to be the case.
No, no, no. Like I said, I'm a cycles guy, and there is such a thing as a liquidity cycle, and the liquidity cycle points up until between June and December 25, I think, is when it's due to peak. It lines up with the crypto 4-year cycle perfectly. So I just believe in that. Until proven wrong, that's what's going to happen. If something changes here, yeah, we'll notice. My model is going to pick it up. I tend to be like a price action maximalist in the sense that I look at price action, then I decide what to think about the world, because the price is everything. It's like the collective decision making by all of the market participants reflected on price. If people are bullish overwhelmingly, then prices will go up. If prices are going up, it's for a reason. Markets don't lie. In other words, this market looks bullish to me, so I'm guessing liquidity is on the rise. You know what I'm saying? Like, if the cycles look bullish, then whatever bullish catalyst crypto needs to go up is probably turning up or pointing up. So a long way of saying, yeah, I think liquidity will continue to rise, even though, like I said, I do find that they maybe need cover now that they didn't need in 2018 or 19. You know, 2020, they didn't need any cover at all. Actually, they hadn't printed money. It would have been much worse. So
So you know
I
what?
actually do
Let's
agree with
just
that.
finish it off with a little bit of degeneracy. Let's talk about some altcoins, some shit
All
coins.
right.
You got a couple picks for us that you think might be exciting? And we have actually a higher level question first. Should one throw 1% of their portfolio at some shit coins, in your opinion?
In my opinion, yes, but keep it under 10%. If you're absolutely insane and you're starved for returns, make it 15, but don't do
If you're
more than that.
mad.
If you're absolutely insane, yeah, sure, go for 15, but don't just ape into this stuff. But yeah, there's a few. Honestly, beyond meme coins, like I actually own meme coins. I was telling you off camera that my best position now is actually Pepe. Well, Pepe in the depths of the some correction it had in 2023, I'm up 16x already. So that's my best trade. Now it's minuscule. I'm talking 0.1% of my net worth is deployed on Pepe. And now that's 1.5%. It's nothing. Why do I like that? I like the meme. I just didn't want to miss out. I just threw in some chips at it. There's other things that I think have, some fundamentals. This is still crypto, bear in mind, but I kind of like the projects. One of my favorites is Pendle. Pendle is doing fixed term, like fixed yield in DeFi. It's pretty interesting stuff. So they take everything in DeFi is variable yield, and these guys are using a new type of token where they separate the yield on the token from the principal, and they offer what's basically a short duration bond. So it's basically anywhere between I think it's they usually do 3 to 4 month maturities, fixed yield. But this is crypto. This is not like buying T-bills at 5%. No, 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 no. You can make 35% upwards of that. So like I have some fixed bonds that I bought at 90% annualized return. This is fixed yield. So I'm going to say this with air quotes. I'm guaranteed to get that 90%. It's pretty cool stuff. There's a token associated with that project called Pendle. So it's the Pendle token. The ticker is Pendle. I like that one.
Pendle, currently $6.06.
Yes, correct. I do like that one because it's also quite undervalued. I think it's valued at about $400 million. I'm like, this thing should at least be worth $1 billion. Nobody else is doing this in crypto. Look at all the stuff you can do on Pendle. So I really like that one. Render too, because of this Render is this AI token. It's not an AI token. It's basically a distributed network for sharing GPU, spare GPU capacity. It's kind of like an Oracle where if I want to rent out GPUs, I pay with Render tokens, and the person who's renting their GPU out is getting paid in Render tokens. That one's pretty good. It's been doing very well. It's up like 20x already in this bull market. It's also on Solana, which has a lot of hype. Well, there's a lot of hype around Solana, which I think is mostly hype, but I own some Sol too. In fact, my third largest position is Solana. That would be my third shitcoin that I shout out to Solana. I mean, Solana could turn into a good project. The only reason I keep calling it a shitcoin is because, man, the thing grinds to a halt. They marketed 50,000 TPS. That's transactions per second. And the reality is, at about 5 or 6,000 transactions per second, Solana becomes unusable. Like it literally becomes unusable. You have to wait 30 minutes, 40 minutes to get a transaction across. I don't know why it's doing that. And I do think they could fix it. And if they do, I'm going to get more bullish on Solana. They print a lot of it too. So a lot of people say, oh, Solana is great because the fees are so low. Yeah, the fees are being suppressed right now. And that's being offset with inflation. So Solana doesn't tax you directly, it taxes you through inflation. Is that going to matter this cycle? I don't know. I don't think so. I think it goes through $500. It's 163 now. Again, I don't know anything, but that's what I'm thinking. As long as there's hype, I don't think the inflation matters. Inflation is like, and I could be way off here, but I think off the top of my head is like 5 or 6%. That's nothing, right? 5 or 6% inflation versus insatiable demand during a bull market. Yeah, it's still gonna go up. It's gonna be number go up for Sol. I will sell all of my Sol, however, at the peak of the bull market, unless they fix this transaction speed issue, because it is a big issue. I mean, 30 minutes for a transaction when it's being advertised as the fastest blockchain ever. So I like those three. Yeah. I like Pendle, I like Sol, I like Render, and meme coins too. And a great colleague of mine who works with me, he recently, like I asked him about WIF and Pepe. I asked him, why do you think Pepe is doing so well, has been doing so well recently? And he said, it's a high beta play on Ethereum. If you think about it that way, then it's great. You're bullish on ETH, buy Pepe. And WIF is the same for Solana. You're bullish on Solana, buy WIF, don't buy Sol. Anecdotally, yes, the price patterns for WIF and Sol very similar. Same thing is true for Pepe. Like the cyclic patterns are very similar. But oh, that's pretty clever. So I do play with shitcoins a lot, but it's for me, it's not even. I think it's like I'm at like 5%. I don't think I've exceeded like 5. It's not 10%. So I'd recommend 10% at most. Keep in mind, none of this is financial advice, and none of these are buy and hold investments, by the way. They all crash to zero when the bear market comes. So that's a painful lesson that a lot of people learn every cycle. They hold on to their shitcoins. These go to zero. Something goes wrong with them. They collapse, they blow up, or they get outcompeted by a competing project. Like, oh, you fell in love with this exchange, but then this new exchange came along and it's so much better. It does everything better. And your shitcoin is down 99%. It's never coming back. So these are not buy and hold. The only one, in my opinion, you can hold through bear markets is Bitcoin and Ethereum. Those are the only two that have come back multiple times in multiple cycles. Those are the only two. There may be a few more. But the big ones, BTC and ETH. And between those two, keep in mind that the peak in the ETH BTC ratio was made in June of 2017. So Ethereum still hasn't proven that it can outperform Bitcoin over the long haul. It hasn't actually proven that yet. A lot of people seem to take that for granted. A lot of people seem surprised when I tell them, actually, the peak in that Ethereum Bitcoin ratio, June 2017. It's not even the peak of the bull market. Peak of the bull market was January 2018. The peak for that ratio, June 17. So ever since, Ethereum has been underperforming Bitcoin, usually because it goes down more during the bear markets. And now you can see it. I mean, you saw it in 2023. ETH is dead. It still is. So we'll see. Just hold on to your Bitcoin for the most part. I think it should be 50% Bitcoin. The rest, sure, diversify. But at least half should be in Bitcoin because it's the only one that has been proven at time and time again, cycle after cycle.
And the other thing is, it doesn't have any competition.
It doesn't.
These, 1 year it can be Ethereum, 1 year it could be a Solana, 1 year it could be something else. But in the world of actual, store of value currency, it's going to, like, Bitcoin is just absolutely dominated. It has zero competition. Everything else is competing with it, with something else, which means there can be shifts in which one's dominant. So that's, I completely agree. Excellent analysis. Let's leave it there, Juan. Thank you so much, guys. Like, subscribe, do all those fun things. If you let me know what's your favorite shitcoin that you want to speculate on this year. Let me know in the comments, and we'll see you guys soon.